and campaign headquarters broken into, but, you know, that's kind of what they do, and I just roll with it. You know, I'm 6'1", 215 pounds, so I'm more worried about my family than I am myself. But, you know, that's what they do. It's thuggery at its finest, and unfortunately, when you speak out and you stand for liberty and you stand against, and you know, I just want to make this one point. It's not just against the Obama administration. I think you know this. There are Republicans out there, too, who couldn't care any less about liberty. There are some out there who care more about their own power than liberty, too. So it's a bipartisan indictment of the system, but you definitely put a target on your back when you do that.
Absolutely. And Scripps Howard News Service, AP, you name it, have picked up all the burglaries and harassment that you're going through right now. I mean, that right there is the certification that you're the man right there, and the campaign's going well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're shaking people up, we've got a few left-wing outlets come after us for everything from shocker meeting with conservatives in D.C. A left-wing media outlet went after us and said, yeah, he meets with conservatives in D.C. to advance conservative causes.
How horrible.
Scandal. You know, that we had some meetings with another journalism outfit, too. I mean, they make up stuff. It's really terrible. And, you know, if you only knew, folks, what went on behind closed doors, I mean, you would be disgusted if you think this government revolves around a citizen-centric model and that public service is a priority. And I've got bad news for you. You're living in a fantasy land. I mean, there are some good people out there, don't get me wrong, but they're very few. And you mentioned it in the opening of the show. More and more people are just turning up their, you know, turning their head in disgust and walking away and finding out, not walking away from making a difference, but walking away and finding out a different way to shake up the system, because it is unquestionably broken.
You know, I know you saw a lot of things, and you signed national security agreements, so you can't talk about it, or you'll go to jail like a whistleblower. But I mean, when you talk about the dirty deals behind the scenes, we've got a good idea. It seems like the corruption's so rampant now, they don't even get in trouble. I mean, you said it was the speeches and things was one reason you left, hearing Obama basically push stuff that Mao would push. But I think that's obviously the main suspects. It would be other, you know, feds coming in because of what you do know. Aren't you in probably danger because of some of the things you saw? You may not even know what they were that's got them concerned, why they're breaking into your house and your car and places like that. I mean, my question is, if I knew all the stuff you knew, I'd probably go ahead and just say it, because then I think that makes you safer is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you know, it's not a bad point, but, you know, I did swear an allegiance, and my, you know, my oath means something to me. And outside of the things I saw which were blatantly unconstitutional, which I have no obligation under my oath to the Constitution to keep quiet, outside of those things, you know, obviously they're personal things, I keep quiet. But, you know, this isn't faux bravery on my part. You know, I mean it, Alex. I'm not sitting here trying to, you know, to sit there and pound my chest. But I just don't worry about it that much. I mean, my family and I took an enormous financial hit to do what we did, to walk away. You know, my FBC records are public. You can look yourself. You know, we certainly didn't get rich off any of this. But the country is at a turning point. I mean, I mentioned this last time I was on your show. This is a real turning point. Not one of those fictional turning points where people just like to rile you up. Oh, we're at the turning point. This is it. I mean, we are moving down one of these paths where your liberty is being treated like a commodity you can't exchange. It's traded amongst people and faux party officials and insiders and cronies. Your liberty, and yet, oddly enough, the one person out at the table is you. So, you know, you have to say to yourself, when you're someone like me on the inside, you know, and I honor and I respect the Secret Service agents who, you know, these guys and men and women are fantastic. They put their lives on the line, you know, in a heartbeat for the president and everyone else they protect. But I just didn't. I felt kind of like a parasite, like I was, you know, just sucking off the system, and then I wasn't doing everything I could do. And I kept imagining a eulogy in a world that was different than the world we know today, for the worst. And someone saying, "Well, what did he do to change it?" And then my kids looking up and going, "Well, I don't know." Well, Dan, I can tell you right now, they're not going to have any problem answering that question now. Dan,
I admire you so much. I don't say that to be sappy, because I've gone through some of the same things you've gone through, the break-ins, the physical attacks, the death threats, where they're listening to your phone and tell you what you were talking about, so you know it's the government or contractors. And for people that haven't experienced this, they don't know. And people say, aren't you scared? You know, why do you go, you know, out in public? Why do you go do the things you do with no bodyguards? And you know what? It's not even about being afraid. I've chosen a side but it's not even choosing. I'm not a thug and a criminal. I'm not a scumbag. I'm not part of their gang. I don't even have free will, really. I have to confront and oppose these people, and I think that's what you just crystallized there, is that, you know, you're not beating your chest saying, I don't care, I'm not scared. It's beyond courage. It's, you know, you cannot commit the world to evil, and standing down is joining it. Silence is consent, and you will not be part of the dark side.
Yeah, I mean, we're being ruled. We're not being governed anymore. You know, what made this country great and exceptional, different than every other place in the world, is the respect and the dignity of individual liberty, a constitution that limited them, the government, not you. But I think what, unfortunately, a lot of the soccer mom crowd is ignoring is the fact that your liberty is really disappearing in real time, and it has a real consequence, Alex. I mean, look at your economic liberty. What do you think taxation is? If you work for $100 a year using round numbers, and now upwards to 47 to 50% of it is taken by the government through sales, income, capital gains, corporate, all these other taxes, then 40% of the time you work for someone else. I mean, that's not liberty or freedom. You know, when you look at Obamacare, do you really think that was about health care? Seriously, I mean, do you really believe that was about health care? I assure you, having lived in this bubble, it had nothing to do with health care. It has everything to do with taking away life or death decision-making away from you and putting it in their pockets. I mean, we've never had any kind of education liberty. Public school system doesn't think
it's death panels. It's socialist, eugenics, absolutely. And it's buying and selling our liberties, trading them away. I want to get into the Benghazi situation because you're somebody that was the head guy when Obama went overseas. So you know exactly what went on there, and it's coming out missiles to Al-Qaeda and the stand down. But before we go there, let's right now make this important. You put it on the line. You didn't talk to me before you came on the air. You were coming on about the embassy stuff. I'm saying this now. Everybody in Maryland needs to stand with Dan Bongino and his family and get him into office. This is a real guy, folks. You can feel it. You can see it. Your gut tells you we've got to put this guy in Congress with an overwhelming vote to overpower their electronic voting machines. These are the type of people we need there who have a conscience that that's their most valued possession, is being honorable. And how do people donate? What's the best site to go to? Bongino.com?
Yeah, thank you. Bongino.com. I appreciate that, Alex. Thank
you. People, but they need to not just donate. They need to come out and support you in Maryland. I mean, I'm reading the campaign's going well. You're getting support.
Yeah, we've been very lucky. You know, last time we ran, we started with nothing. I had 2 donors, me and my father, and we built the largest donor list in Maryland, one of the largest donor lists in the Northeast Corridor. I mean, we really fired up a grassroots base. And, you know, it was funny how people would say to me when I would give speeches, because, you know, I never wrote them. I would just go out and speak from the heart. And people would say, wow, I've never heard anything like that before. And I said, you know, that's the sad part. You know, that all I did was just tell you the truth, and you thought it was good. It wasn't good. It was just unusual because you're so not used to hearing the truth from people that when a guy gets up there and speaks with some passion about what's really happening, you think it's, quote, good. There's nothing good about it. It's just the truth. The truth has no agenda, and we just built a massive army of people. So starting this time was obviously a lot easier than last time where we had to build it from scratch. Now we have a solid base of support. We have a huge social media following on Facebook and Twitter, and it really helps me get the liberty message out there. I try to tweet and Facebook about liberty at least 2 or 3 times a week, and it's never scripted. I come home, I'll usually put on some music, and I will just go and tell people how I really feel and what I saw and what I think is really wrong, and importantly, how we can fix this disaster we're in now.
Absolutely. And folks can go to Bongino.com and find your Twitter, find your Facebook. Everybody should follow you there. In fact, I'm going to tweet out during the next break from Real Alex Jones at Twitter for folks to follow you, and I hope listeners. Libertarians and constitutionalists don't tend to be big Twitter people, but we all need to become big Twitter folks, because sometimes I'm out there in the field, and that's all I've got to get a message out, and the same thing for Mr. Bongino. And the fact that they're coming after him, breaking in his house, his car, harassing his family, right there, folks, we just had on Staff Sergeant Biggs with all the other Special Forces guys that were friends with Michael Hastings, who know they killed him, and they're all scared, folks. And it just shows how dangerous this is. But if they put a bullet in me, I want 10 more to stand up in my place. If they put a bullet in Bongino, you've got to do the same thing. I mean, enough is enough, folks. The war for this republic is now. Now, shifting gears, speaking of bullets, they put bullets in Ambassador Stevens. Knowing what you know about embassy security, a lot of it classified, running foreign operations when the president would go overseas and visit embassies. What is going on from a trained eye when you see that?
Well, what I found odd about this is there's been communications between al-Zawahiri in Pakistan and Yemen. One of the main AQAP operators in Yemen. But the brazenness of the communication strikes me. Here's what I mean. These guys are very, and I don't mean this qualitatively, please, but they're very savvy in a devious way with their communication. They've learned everything from using drop boxes in emails that don't formally send it. All kinds of, I don't even want to give anybody else any ideas, but ways to manipulate cell phones so that they can't be traced. They are very savvy in that respect. The fact that they likely knew they were being monitored, which of course they know, and brazenly made these kind of communications, knowing it was going to get out there, says to me, from having gone through this over and over and having read volumes of intel reports and overseas ops, was that this was really in the end operational stage, and any fear of having the operation broken up was probably not really, didn't frighten them enough to communicate. This thing was ready to go. But the problem, Alex, is I don't really trust this administration anymore with their information. And they've lost all credibility between Benghazi and we don't even know what was going on there with potential gun running. I mean, they really don't have any credibility. The only thing that makes me believe this could be really credible, and I hope it's not, is that a lot of the foreign embassies have shut down too, and we're usually pretty reluctant, especially after Iraq, to be sharing information and intel with foreign embassies and foreign governments.
Sure. Well, I mean, Obama's bad enough, and I know they'll crucify you if you agree with me. He's bad enough, and even the New York Times says these terror alerts are being used for political purposes to distract from NSA, to turn a blind eye and let some jihadi group fund it up the chain. They're funding them in Syria and Libya to attack a few embassies as a political distraction. This could also be a false flag Obama's about to pull.
Well, this NSA thing, they need to get the attention off this thing so badly, and I cannot believe. I mean, really, there's a part of me that is having a hard time digesting the fact that there are people who call themselves Republicans out there who actually support this program. You know, folks, information in the hands of a government without an independent arbiter reviewing it. Remember, the Constitution, secure in your effects, right? Without a warrant or an independent, because I don't consider the FISA court it's not, it's a rubber stamp, okay?
Former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino, stay there, sir. We're going to come right back to you and have you finish that point on Benghazi. Johnny Appleseed was born during the Revolutionary War. He's not just a legend. And in more than 5 states, he introduced apples that had not even been grown in the colonies. Later, the seed